Welcome to the Lightforge. This is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. Hello, guys. Hope your arenas are going well. Nothing is really happening in the arena. We expected some movement. We expected some changes.
Microadjusts.
I know. We expected microadjusts from Blizzard. They haven't come yet. Leaderboards have not come out yet.
It's
either.
September, guys.
It's September.
It's not even August anymore. They're not just late, they're like an entire month late. But
So, if you guys aren't really aware of the typical schedule for the leaderboards, we're used to leaderboards coming out a little bit later, right? Whenever it's supposed to come out after a set period of time, whether it was monthly or now it's by rotation, we're used to it coming out after like the 10th or 11th, and sometimes it's as late as like the 18th or 19th on a given month. But we have never had it this late, as in an entire month past when it's supposed to be due. And there's no sort of explanation as of right now. There's no news. I know personally that Boozer has pinged Ixar a couple of times, and we don't know. We don't know sort of what the fate of the leaderboard is. First of all,
it's just I don't even think people. I think Boozer may be one of like 5 people who still care about this thing coming out.
I know that Boozer cares because his average during the past rotation, I think his best 30 runs was like 8.9 something.
Mm-hmm.
So he obviously expects to place very high. I think anyone with that score expects to place very, very high. And it would just be a shame because I'm sure Boozer spent a lot of effort and really grinded those runs out and performed extraordinarily well. And for it to just not come out after rightfully assuming that it will come out, that would be a real shame.
Yeah. I think he made a post about it on Arena HS, and the top like voted comments, all of them are like, what do you mean? Why is anyone surprised that this is happening? We literally got notified of this whole buckets thing that actually impacts the game itself. Like I think a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks after Ixar told the communications team to like the community communications team to get that information to us. So this is I don't know. It's no one's surprised by this point, and there's not much more to be said about it. Whatever Blizzard's been doing before, since August started, since the Saviors patch, they're basically not doing stuff in the arena for now. Hopefully they'll pick it back up. I think they will, but I want not, especially August, right? Like I kept saying this every single podcast where people were like, "Oh, what about Blizzard and what are they doing?" I'm like, it's August. Remember last August? They don't do stuff in August. It's. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying there's a difference between like if you're expecting something, right? Like just yeah, maybe we should get it. Maybe we deserve it. Maybe we don't. Whatever. But we should not expect to have it because they've shown that this is not what they do in August. They don't do work.
So when ADWCTA says this is August and just sort of like assumes it's just a big corporate kind of thing. Like August, people take time off, right? This is sort of the month for anyone in any sort of big company to take off. It's sort of assumed that like August is sort of this unofficial but official holiday season almost. So
and especially if you have kids, it's like the last point of the summer where you can take your kids and do something, and it's just what people do. Certain places in Europe that just like literally like don't work for the entire month.
If Europe you have, like, kind of just shuts down.
Yeah, if you have like any seniority in a company, like it's a weird thing, I think. But Blizzard is not exempt from it. Apparently, I think many game developers do work through it. But Blizzard's a good game company. They treat their employees well, and so they don't do as much work in August.
Like for the sake of all the leaderboard players, though, I do hope that it, better late than never.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So
I don't think they're not gonna come out, right? It's gonna come out sometime in September. They're gonna get back. Not on Monday. Monday's tomorrow's Labor Day, which is a holiday in the U.S. for our international audience. But after Labor Day on Tuesday, they're going to get back, start poking around, seeing what's up, start getting stuff together again, realize they have a job, and that the more they put stuff off, the more they still have to do it all eventually, and then they'll get to it. But yeah, that's on that side. Let's talk about Twitch Rivals now. Twitch Rivals happened on Tuesday, and Arena players did not win.
Arena players did not win. Oh, how do we want to construct the story? You've already spoiled it, but you know what? I guess you gotta just face it head on.
So
However,
Twitch Rivals won, right? Twitch Rivals won. Arena players placed really well, and me and Tex won. Twitch Rivals 2, Shady and Collins won, and Arena players did really well, like in the arena portion as well. And this time around, Arena players did like really well. Like if you look at the arena portion of it, Shady, especially Collins and Dreads, the arena super team got like really high scores. Like their combined score was 10 wins higher than the next one. 10 wins in this competition ended up being like 15%. They had like a plus 15% wins. That's a ridiculous number of wins. Like think about it in terms of like sports, right? This is the NBA, and then a team got like 60 wins in a season, which is pretty good, right? Like let's say the number 2 team got like 60 wins in the season, then these guys got 70. Like
yeah,
this is the equivalent of how much they crushed everybody else, us included. We were in the Twitch Rivals tournament on Team Trump, and me and Trump got like we both got like 26 wins, which is 1 win below what Shady and Dreads got. Collins just like did ridiculous stuff, and it was like he got over 10 wins per run on average. But still, like overall, we weren't even in the top 4.
nope.
On the other hand, once we got into the top the actual top 4 portion of Twitch Rivals, which is not arena, that is like some limited format, right? Like you draft as if it's arena, but then you get to see everyone's deck list. And it's head on head conquest style, like best of 3 and then best of 5. It's its own like system. The arena players ended up playing second, and lost to Team Mozzie. Team Mozzie, the number 1 team, and it's not a fluke because Mozzie also, in addition to leading Team Mozzie to the victory in the quasi-arena portion, beat all the arena players in the arena portion by averaging 10.66 wins per run in his 3 runs.
Yep.
So
A total of a score of 32. Team Muzzy was obviously led by Muzzy, but also had Just Saiyan and Hunter Ace, your reigning world champion as well. So an incredibly stacked team with people that just live, breathe, and eat Hearthstone in general.
Yep. And so this is the first time that, I mean, constructed players did well before. This is not the first time a constructed player or a constructed team did well, but it's the first time that they won something in the arena tournament. This is that's kind of the storylines coming out of the tournament. Out of the, I think there may have been, I don't know, full arena teams. I think it was just us, like 100% arena teams was probably just us and Shady, Collins, Dreads. We also had 2 quasi arena teams that didn't make it into the top 4 either. So
yeah, I would say that there were 4 like arena teams because the other 2 arena teams, other than our team and also Dread Shady and Collins' team, would be Redbeard, Dexter, and ADWs. I think that's
okay, yeah, that's an arena team. I didn't know
that's a pure arena team. And also Stan Udachi's team with God Dammit. And I forgot who the last player was. I actually can't see it on this this list. But if you guys aren't aware, Stan Udachi and God Dammit, they have multiple top 10 finishes on the leaderboard, and they also, I think, got number 1 5 times between all of them. Oh, the third player is Theodore B. My apologies. And
Hmm.
Theodore B has gotten number one
Yeah.
on the leaderboard as well. So they are probably, other than Shady Dread and Collins, the most decorated in
Hmm.
terms of leaderboard finishes. So I think that is,
Okay.
a super arena team as well.
And of these four teams, Shady, Dreads, and Collins are the only ones that went to the top four
Yes.
in the arena portion. So this is not the quasi arena limited format. This is just the arena run portion. Out of 12 teams, so I don't know. Out of 12 teams, you have four teams that are arena teams. You have a top four. You would expect 1.333 in a totally random draw. You ended up with one. It's not seriously underperforming. But if you compare that to like if you have an expectation that arena players would just do better in the arena portions than constructed players, that certainly did not happen outside of the top team, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's really hard just because this is we can't play this over and
Yeah.
over and over again with these teams. But yeah, so when we say that, hey, a constructed player won this entire thing, you also look at it and say, well, if you accept the fact that these are all very, very good players, like everyone who entered the tournament, which is very true. Then it's not a huge surprise, right? It's actually surprising, for example, that Shady and Collins took down Rivals 2 when there were 40 teams participating.
Hmm.
That is insane, right? To have that many teams participating, and then two like pure arena players and two of the top arena players to come out of 40 teams. That is particularly impressive. Not to take anything away from Muzzie's team. I'm just saying, by the stats, us sort of being like, oh no, a constructed player won. It's like, well, yeah, the numbers would. It's definitely not a ridiculous sort of result.
If you look at it from like Twitch one plus Twitch Rivals one plus Twitch Rivals two plus Twitch Rivals three, arena players have been doing very very well. If you look at it from just
Yes.
Twitch Rivals three, arena players, I mean, I think if you look at the individual scores, right, like generally arena players did better than constructed players in the arena portion, but we like if I was a betting man, I would have bet on more arena teams making the top four. And after it gets to the top
I think
four,
so.
it's kind of shaky, right? Because at that point, constructed skills really kick in when you have like especially tournament skills that arena players like outside of like Shady, right, who was a constructed player for a while, right? That we just don't like have the experience in. Um,
Definitely.
okay, so what happened in the tournament? Let's talk about us because we are in the process of getting Muzzy on the Lightforge, so hopefully that'll happen. And fingers
Crossed.
crossed. There's some scheduling things. Constructed players are important pro players with schedules and contracts that mean that they can't stream during certain times.
Yeah, so we've already
Blizzard.
contacted we've contacted Muzzy. Muzzy is we've met him before. He's a
Yeah.
super nice guy. A really, really nice guy, soft spoken, very professional person as well. And this is why if we're able to get him on, I'm really excited about it. And I think just the way that he approaches Hearthstone and truly the way that he when I say that he lives, breathes, and eats Hearthstone, I'm actually kind of serious. Like when he's lounging around, he's playing
He's just playing
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone. Yeah, like
When he eats food, he plays Hearthstone. I'm not kidding about this. And he's a super chill guy as well. Like you would think that someone like that would be, I don't know, incapable of talking to another human being. He's like super chill, super cool, but he just grinds and grinds and grinds, and it never seems to get to him. I've watched his. So if you guys don't know, in Constructed, there is the Grandmaster tournament going on right now. And in his little segment for the Grandmaster tournament, he actually says, he's like, I don't get burned out. People say they get burned out by this game. I don't understand. I just keep playing this game. He basically says something like that. I'm like, that is the most Muzzy statement I've ever heard. So can't wait to get him on, hopefully.
yeah. We'll try to coordinate the schedules to make that work out. But we'll step aside from Twitch Rivals for commentary for now because we'll hopefully do it next week, and if not next week, then the week after that,
Yep.
when we have Muzzy on, or other members of Team Muzzy. We'll see. Let's pull this back to our personal experience in Twitch Rivals. So we did not place top 4, but we were number 6, which means we were overall like pretty medium. But there was like, in terms of the payout, 5 and 6 are the same, and it's like a significant pay grade above 7. So we got a good split going on there. And Trump started it with 12 wins, like right off the bat. He started late, ended up facing no patrons apparently. So a patron is someone who's in the tournament. We get all special accounts, and in the first run, everybody's starting in the same pool at around the same time. You just like face so many, it's almost like unavoidable. So I don't know by what black magic Trump did, but he ended up facing none of the other tournament players. Went on at like a 12, I think 12-1 or something, with like a above average deck, but nothing too spectacular. And then follow that up with I think a 9 or 10 win run, and then
I think it was 9.
A 5-win run after that. And for 26 total. I got offered 3 rogues with no warlock or hunter. I went in. I don't know. You guys, if you guys listen to the last Lightforge, I was going in all like, yeah, I'm not gonna pick rogue. I think hunter's better. I think warlock's probably even better. I'm gonna try to stay away from rogue. It's too RNG, right? I haven't been having a lot of success with it in my practices. So I'm gonna go hunter and warlock. Not offered a single hunter or warlock. Offered rogue 3 times with crap classes. So I took them and it was fine. Got 26 wins also. Same as Trump. That averages out to like 8 point something. 8.6, 8.3, 8.6. So it was like towards the end of the finish, we were still, I think we ended up being like, we didn't have the tiebreaker. So assuming we still don't have the tiebreaker, we were 3 wins off. And me and Trump both played basically to like the very end. So even if we did better, it wouldn't have counted because we played too slow.
The time restraint was a real thing. Well, it was a real thing for you guys. It wasn't for me because I lost. Because I just lost a lot. My runs went 4 wins, and 10 wins. And the losses were so brutal. In the middle, I got just frustrated after the second 4-win loss because some of the losses I was just like, I can't do this.
What was your worst loss? Please describe your most ridiculous loss, Merps.
There were a lot of bad losses, but the worst one was one in which I think, if I had to judge, I think I was like a 95% favorite. I had the board, I had everything good going for me, and then a shaman cleared my board, and I was like, oh, that's fine. I still have card advantage, so I'm good. Like shamans, they don't have a great way to out card advantage you. But then the shaman proceeded to unstable evolution into a Lyra. And I killed the Lyra the next turn, but then the shaman played Cragwall, which returned all the unstable evolutions into his hand, and I was done. That was kind of it. So the first deck, the Warlock that you helped me draft, that was just kind of.
So I helped Merp draft the Warlock because I have more experience drafting the Warlocks, and it had a okay curve, right? You had enough 2s, you had enough 3s, you had enough 4s. It did not have extra things for the curve, as you might expect a Warlock to, because there were too many value cards. It was like a ton of Demon Bolts, like we had a Siphon Soul, like just a lot of like value cards, and 1 Hellfire for a comeback. And what happened?
I got too many Demon Bolts. That was it. And
how many Demon Bolts are in that deck? 3, 4?
4 Demon Bolts, 1 Siphon Soul. So just too many Demon Bolts. There was a time in which I had 4 Demon Bolts in hand, and the opponent just like, I think he had an idea that my hand was a little bit awkward, so he would play like 2 minions. I was like, oh no, 2 minions. And then I just died. It was really bad, man.
Yeah. So that deck had a very small margin of error in terms of how the early part of the game shakes out. So if you fall behind, you're just kind of behind unless you have a Hellfire.
Yeah.
But you recovered at the end with a nice 10-win Hunter.
I recovered, and then I missed lethal at the end. Feels bad, man. And of course, this was when the mainstream was on me as well.
The mainstream just
Uh,
turns to you to see you miss lethal. That's all. They predicted it. They were like, I have a feeling this guy's about to miss lethal right now. This is when we're gonna cut turn.
I'm gonna tell you right now, so whenever the Twitch rivals main channel is on me, bad things happen. I'm gonna rewind this and tell you the entire history. Okay, I'm gonna blame the main channel. Okay, during the first Twitch rivals, remember how I came out the gates the fastest because I drafted Aggro Hunter,
Yep.
the first Twitch rivals, right? I was 8 I was 9-0, and then they were like, okay, well, we have to go to this Merps guy because Shady is still drafting and Merps is 9-0. So they came on and they were like, we don't understand how it wins. And then I lose my first game. And I remember Admiral was like, or Admirable was like, well,
We still don't
okay.
understand how this deck wins.
Still don't understand. So then they go away. They come back when I'm 11-1, and I proceed to lose the next two games. And Admirable is just like, I really don't understand what is going on. So that was Twitch Rivals 1. All right, guys. Twitch Rivals 2, I had the game in the bag, and I eventually did win this game. But then the guy proceeds to shovel fist, Kraken, shovel fist me, and
Jeez.
almost stabilizes based on all these 9 drops. And Dreads was commenting too, and he was like, "Wow, this is insane." So pull that one out, but that was like, I was just like, "What's going on?" And then of course the third one, this previous one, it was a big, complicated board. Both of us were really low on HP. So the Paladin had like, I think 18 HP. I only had, I believe, 9 HP. And then we had big boards. I counted up everything and it didn't get there in my head. So because the board was so complicated and plus he had a buffed rap golem, I was like, okay, I need to figure out the board now. Because I'm just like, all right, I counted, doesn't add up. And then, of course, chat afterwards proceeds to tell me, it's like, dude, you missed lethal. I'm like, I did, but I counted. But I
That's
counted wrong.
that's why you need Deck Tracker with their new counting attack on the board feature that I found out the other day.
Yeah, I could have used that one.
Yeah, it just shows up as a number and it automatically counts up all the attack you have on the board already. Like, that's a crazy feature. I'm still like, I have it on now, but I don't look at it when I need to, so I have to train myself to do that. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, that
yeah.
happens, and it also didn't really affect the final thing because if you had won that game and then also won the next game to go 12 wins, we would still have been fifth and not made the top four cutoff.
Yeah, we don't win the tiebreaker, and even if we get fifth, we don't make it, and the money ends up being the same.
Yep. So ultimately,
Yeah.
didn't matter. See, misplays don't matter. I keep telling you guys, and you get, like, even when it looks like it matters and it ends the run, it doesn't matter in the even bigger picture. Um, but yeah, I actually ran out of time again in Twitch Rivals for the third time in a row. That is every single Twitch Rivals. I have had my final loss be at the period in which they cut off the game, the recording. So both Twitch Rivals 1 and 2 and 3. I was on my last game that if I would have won, it would not have counted, but I lost and it ended the run all 3 times. So if I'm in Twitch Rivals 4, I think I'm gonna try to purposefully like pick up the speed because at this point it's kind of like it doesn't matter what I do. Like doing better doesn't actually get me a better score in this Twitch Rivals format because they have a time limit. So I've literally done the best I can given how slow I play.
Yeah, definitely. This is always you. Like at the very end, you're always up against the clock. I think people have roped you twice at the end.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Like because people just try to rope people at the end, like assholes just try to queue in, and we're all on delays, so they don't know how to like queue into me or like other people, but they'll queue into someone, right? And they'll delay it. So I don't know if other people got purposefully delayed, but I definitely got purposefully delayed where like they would just like make the move and then wait the clock out after you make the move for every
Oh,
single turn.
definitely. Yeah, which was fairly frustrating. But once again, because of that, and even if that person didn't delay you, and even if I didn't misplay, I still don't think we make the time
No, we
because,
definitely don't. Well,
yeah,
we don't make the time because I lost the next game. I would have had to win the next game for it to matter because I beat the guy that was roping me. Like, he sucked.
Right.
He was
Yeah,
roping me, but he
yeah,
sucked.
yeah.
And, like, he was on curve, too. He was just, like, I don't know. He had powerful cards. He was on curve. He was just, I don't know. I guess if you're focused on delaying the game, you're not, like, playing your best game. Or maybe he just sucked. But the next game was against a shaman that did ridiculous shaman things. As you know very well, and we did not really have a chance. It was like turn 4, and I was like, we're probably gonna lose this game.
Shamans are the ultimate. Like, I hate seeing shamans and priests during a rivals event
Yeah,
because I'm just like, oh god, there's no, I can't like do anything with you guys with these two classes. If you're facing, for example, paladin, right?
yep.
Mage can do like some crazy stuff, but if you're facing
Paladin
paladin,
can't do anything that you don't expect paladins to do. I
exactly.
always love facing paladin. They've never
Yep.
been able to do crazy things, and except for Keeper of Voldemort, that would now subdue
Yeah.
kind of.
Subdue kind of, but it's like, those things are still pretty set, right? Pretty rigid things. Even now, it's so paladins can't do a lot of those huge swing things, and even hunters have like some pretty ridiculous ways to come back if
Mm-hmm.
necessary. So I would say if I'm facing like a paladin, I'm like, all right, this is fine, this is cool. If I see a shaman at the other end, I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, we're introducing so much uncertainty that which you certainly don't want in a an event like rivals, in which you only get 9 losses. So like any chance to increase one of those losses is huge.
Yep. All right. I think that's enough for rivals. We'll talk more about it when we get some of the winners on. But before we wrap up the segment, I want to thank Frodan for setting up the tournament and getting us some invites. Trump for inviting us onto his team.
Thank you, Trump.
And I know we're going to talk more about what happened in the actual finals when we talk more about Twitch rivals. In the playoffs and stuff, but just know also that although our team arena, Shady, Dreads, and Collins did not take home the gold, they did place number 1 by a very, very large margin in the pure arena portion of the tournament, and the finals were very close. It was up to like the last 2 top decks.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't watched it yet, definitely watch it. But a little bit of a spoiler for the exact game in the finals. It was as close as could be, and unfortunately, Collins, Dreads, and Shady lost to sort of runner top deck from Muzzy. And to Muzzy's credit,
That was
if
their
you listen
out.
to this, that was their out, and,
That
and
was
they
their
knew
only
it, and
out.
they
Yeah.
played towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Hunter Race, Just Saying, and Muzzy, they knew it as well. They knew they were behind, and this is what the best players do when they are behind. But they also did get the runner top decks, and even then, it was so close. Hopefully, that tension and the show that both teams put on with such good gameplay will prompt Twitch to keep on doing these, to keep on doing these frequently. So yes, thank you so much to Twitch. Thank you to Frodan for not only just doing a third one of these, for doing a third one of these very close to
Very
the second
quickly.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Twitch. You guys are awesome for supporting the arena community and just putting on these events.
Yep. And whenever the next time we get one of Shady, Collins, or Dreads on, I do want to talk about, if you've actually watched this, you'll know what I'm talking about. In the very last game, they held a Wrapped Golem in their opening hand. They had a curve already, and they held a Wrapped Golem turn 7 in their opening hand, and they played it on turn 7. I definitely questioned that particular decision when it was happening, and it ended up that on turn 7 they had another alternate very good move, and they didn't make it, but it was like they would have been fine if they made the other move as well. So I'm curious, not just from them, but also from other people, on whether that's a move that people do and what the success rate of that is. Like, you have a curve and you keep a Wrap Golem. That's
It's also very different because they know exactly the deck.
right. They know that
the
there was
opponent.
no like counter to Wrap Golem in Team Muzzie's deck.
Yeah.
Still,
But still, very
yeah,
interesting.
that ended up being this one of the there's decisions on both sides in the last game that like made a huge impact on the finish. Like that was definitely a game that if you played it again, that matchup, you play it again like 5 times, you're gonna get like a whole bunch of different results. Like that was not a one deck beat the other deck, or like one person like couldn't draw their curve and the other one could. That's game. That was like one of those like both teams were doing stuff and making decisions kind of games.
Yeah, if you guys haven't watched the finals, I highly recommend you watch. It's just, I mean, you're seeing six world class Hearthstone players, whether from the arena or constructed end, and they're talking to each other, so you get all of their thought processes. It really is a treat. It was ridiculously amazing because they don't also agree all the time as well. Whichever side you listen to, there were some strong disagreements on Shady Collins and Dreads' side about some very pivotal plays. And on this, at the same time, Muzzy, Just Saying, and Hunter Race, they were going through stuff. They changed their minds a few times as well. So definitely watch that. Just because you rarely get this opportunity to get in the minds of these people that think about the game so seriously.
And that will complete our Twitch Rivals coverage. Let's talk about the actual meta. That we're
There's
still
nothing to
in.
talk about.
That has not changed for a couple weeks and
It
has not
hasn't
been
changed.
micro adjusted. And rogues are still number one, and hunters are still, if not statistically number one, I think actually number one.
There's here's the thing. The meta is pretty stale. In terms of there has been no changes, but it's also just kind of stale when you play it as well. I don't know. I don't find it particularly that fun.
But every game is different because when you face rogues, they don't know what their deck has.
Yeah, that kind of contributes to the not fun part. Well, this depends on if you're like a Timmy or it depends on how you categorize yourself, right? What sort of card
But if
player.
you're a Timmy, you won't see rogues because rogues are all at like the top end. Like you got to be like 5-0 to see a rogue.
You could be a good Timmy.
Are there
Those
good
exist.
Timmys?
Yeah.
Are there? Why do I feel
Yeah.
like all Timmys like cap out at a certain range? You got to be at least half a spike in order to be a good Timmy, I think.
No. I think you can be Timmys and still just make good moves. It's like you're not gonna be able to draft all puzzle boxes of Yogg-Saron, so you're gonna be a mage with the 3 drops, some board clears, and you're gonna get the puzzle boxes to top it off. And yeah, you're gonna
Okay.
get the puzzle boxes. If your shifting scroll turns into a deck of wonders, you are gonna play that.
See, like the
And
way you're thinking right now, I don't know. No Timmy would think that way. That's more like a Jimmy way of thinking.
I don't know if with the way that the bucket system works right now, a lot of times you'll just get like play to beetle and then pyromaniac and plus like a 4 drop, right? So you just take one.
Mm.
It just the buckets force you a lot of times to take like solid stuff, and so you just take the solid stuff, but you obviously take the puzzle box of Yogg-Saron. And these days Timmy-esque cards I think are they're pretty good,
They
right?
are. They are.
They are
That's
pretty good.
that's the problem with the meta.
That is the
Um,
problem. So for those of you who don't know, because I see in the chat right now, the Jimmies and Timmies, people are getting a little bit confused. Adulto, what are Jimmies and Timmies?
it's so it's a game design kind of thing where someone at some point, I don't know the exact history to it, but it's just become part of the language where there are types of players that you build a game for. There's types of players that approach the game different ways. Timmys are like, oh, big thing. Oh, this is cool. Jimmys are like, I want to like explore and figure out different creative ways to like build something. Like deck builders are usually like at least somewhat Jimmys. And spikes are like, I want to win. Like if there's an overpowered thing, I'm just gonna play that, right? If there's an exploit, I'm gonna use that because all I care about is my win percentage. And so I think most of the time, if you're looking at players that are at the level that are close to the top, you're gonna get obviously a ton of spikes because that's their whole point. we're also going to get a lot of Jimmies because they're the ones that are exploring all the different angles of the game and finding stuff, and they're going to be like probably a little more flexible than the Spike, so it kind of helps. Like I would consider myself more of a Jimmy than a Spike. It's also why, like especially in Arena, like Arena's all about construction and things like that. I feel like a lot of Arena players are more Jimmies than Spikes,
Yeah.
even if they're
Oh,
like
so
really
chat
good.
is saying it's Johnny, not Jimmy. Sure.
Is it?
I have no idea. I don't remember. I only remember like
But
Timmy because that's like the the fun weird one.
no.
But
Oh, okay, fine, fair enough. It's Johnny, not Jimmy.
meh, whatever.
Yeah, okay,
They should
fine.
just be three that rhyme. I don't understand why it's not like I don't know Bob, Billy Bob, and Bob Rob.
That's a lot of Bobs.
I don't know. For me, that's easier for me.
Okay.
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 We all
Okay.
find different things confusing and not confusing. Apparently, Johnny and Jimmy are very confusing to me. But yeah. Anyway, the point being, there are different types of players, and right now, the players who want ridiculously big stuff and RNG and like the crazy plays, they're at more of an advantage in terms of winning than they normally are. That's not to say they're actually at an advantage. It's really hard to win in the arena, which you need a 75% plus win rate. Like, if you're talking about in constructed, right, you can build these ridiculous decks that have these like great moments, and they're legitimately like just the good decks that all the good players would play. In arena, the good players play for 75% win rate. The bad players play for like 55% win rate. So the cards that are good for a 55% win rate player are not the same as the cards that are good for a 75% win rate player. So it's usually the case that you can't even like touch Timmy, like pure Timmy cards. They get rated very low on the tier list. They're not terribly powerful. You have to like kind of in a rare deck, right? You'll find a place for them, but usually you kind of stay away from them compared to other more solid, more stable cards. But now you have stuff like Puzzle Box, where everyone's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's just an insane card. I don't care who you are, put that in your deck. Like even as a 75% win rate player, we have our calculations say it's what? It's a 146. Like it's a Primordial Drake, which has no RNG, right? It's a Primordial Drake level card. I don't know, right? Like you're gonna pick that. You're gonna pick that when it gets offered, and then you're gonna play it. And I guess it's harder to play than people get like give it credit for because I've seen it misplayed so many times. But
Yeah, or people just can't resist, right? It's like,
right,
oh, literally, what's in the box? So they're ahead on the board, and they have like an 85% chance of winning, and but the box is there, and they're able to
mm-hmm.
play it. And you could just hero power, put down the Yeti, and also play a Bone Wraith, or you could play the box.
Yeah,
And I mean, come on. Like, you can have a Bone Wraith and a Yeti, but box is a box. Like, the box could have a Bone Wraith and a Yeti in there. Ooh. And
the
more.
box can't have a Bone Wraith and a Yeti in there.
Sure, it can. I'm sure somehow it can, like, I don't know.
Somehow
For
it could generate
example,
those cards on the board. I'm sure people will figure out a way for that to
you
happen.
had two of them die already, and then Eternal Servitude or Mass Resurrection. Boom.
Just
That's
lots of
already a
mind
win.
games. Yeah, different ways.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of just what we were talking about. I don't know. The metas. I'm not like totally done with this particular meta. I think there's still a lot of things to mine, but just not at the top. The top is very stale. The top
It
is very
is.
stale because that's what happens when you don't freaking micro adjust the game. Like you have a micro adjust system to prevent this, and it's been almost 4 weeks since release, and you haven't pushed the button. Please push the button. If you don't push the button, it's not going to be balanced. And if it's not going to be balanced, the places that are going to be the most unbalanced are going to be the places at the very top, and that's where we care about the most. But the first like 5 to 10 games are generally pretty fun in a run. So there is that. So that tells me that the meta is not unsalvageable. I think the meta is going to like once they push the micro adjust button, whenever they do it, As long as they don't totally screw it up in terms of stats and like take the wrong stats from the wrong meta or something like that, it's going to end up in a significantly better place than where Saviors was. Because one, the buckets are better than in Saviors, and two, the cards are less ridiculous. Like the cards are ridiculous, don't get me wrong, but they're less ridiculous than Saviors. Saviors had some ridiculous stuff that we all like no longer think about because we haven't seen them in a month. But I don't know how you save Evil Miscreant, and like Evil Genius and things like that. Like that's just too much ridiculous stuff that like too many classes have. Here, it's kind of contained, right? You have Puzzle Box, it's one card, you drop the win rate, you up the bucket. I mean, you drop the offering rate, you up the bucket, you're done, right? Put Rogue doesn't even really have a problem so much as it's just like too powerful right now. Hunter has some like not fun to play against it problems, but it's not really like too RNG or anything. It's actually probably these days Hunters, even with Hunter's pack, are less RNG than they usually are, which is a problem because they're too stable. But yeah, Warlocks don't really have RNG cards, not super significant ones anyway. So we're in a very good place, I think, once they hit the button. But they gotta hit the button.
I think so. And no, I don't want to say no matter what, but I think people are just ready for a change as well. Hunters being that high up, it's not that fun. And rogues being high up is, I wouldn't say like terrible, but the current iteration of rogue, which is sort of like casino rogue,
Yeah, which is the
being that
iteration of
high.
Mage from the Rise of Shadows meta.
Yeah, so that's also just not that much fun. And you can see a little bit of discontent, and by a little bit I mean more than a little bit, rising on Arena HS. People are I think sort of just frustrated by the lack of change, but also, yeah, this is a meta in which like people don't like all of the RNG, and you do have a lot of it. So I'm personally ready for a change. I think everyone's ready for a change. Push that button, man.
Push
Do
the
it.
button. Small tier list update. We wanted to get it out last week, then we caught some bugs, then we decided to make buff health and heal health a little bit more sophisticated because we're masochistic idiots, and that broke more stuff, and so we'll hopefully get it out next week. But it's in a we can't update it right now, even if we wanted to. We got to fix some stuff to the new thing that's being done. So a lot of things are gonna not like nothing's moving massively, but a lot of things are moving. It's going to be one of those like adjustments because it's also in the same update that's adjusting to the buckets, which we now know, which has much more precise information than what we had before. So like everything is moving. Not no really good, but very few really good cards are going to become like not good, and very few bad cards, if any, are going to become playable. But the main system that we added is the one that takes care of Colossus and makes Colossus a not ridiculously amazing card. And just like, I think it's going to still end up being low premium or like almost a premium. Definitely like in the draftable, playable like area, but not like a really good card because it's not like a super good card. But that system, as you might imagine, to make a change to do that changes like so many things in terms of late game played cards and like all the other stuff. So I'm looking forward to working out the final kinks in that and getting that up to you guys next week. Yeah. In the meantime, just know that like in terms of one-off fixes, like Flame Ward is the big one-off fix where we caught an error, and it should be like a 120. So I think people already figured that one out. But just know that yes, Flame Ward is actually really good. That's not a fluke.
Yep. Cool. All right. So what's up next?
What's up next? Let's do Card Good Bad.
Card Good Bad. We are talking about Temple Berserker, which we have at a 112 on the current tier list. Temple Berserker is a 2-drop. It's a neutral 2-drop, 1/2 stats. It has Reborn, and also whenever it takes damage, it gets +2 attack. So the enrage mechanic, which no longer exists. But a sticky minion and a very hard to use minion, I would say, because it takes some setting up on your end. It's slow, but it's sticky, and these minions are always sort of tough. And it creates that board tension. And whenever there is board tension, you have to give some thought to it. It puts your opponent into sort of a tough spot, even with one attack sometimes. And it puts you in a tough spot because you have to think. You have to use your brain for this game. So, ADWCTA, you wanted to talk about this card. How do you use Temple Berserker?
I did. I think this is the most interesting card in the meta outside of Bone Wraith. So Bone Wraith, number one most interesting card, causes the most things to happen on the board. But Temple Berserker is number two in the cause. One, I think a lot of people underrate this card. We've always had it pretty high, I think. Like 112 is in this new thing is like significantly above a Yeti. And it's gonna stay this high because it's just so many stats, right? It's a 3-1 and a 1-2 that adds up to like a 4-3 for 2 mana. Yes, most of its stats is delayed, and the body of a 1-2 on turn 2 is kind of terrible, but it still ends up being a lot. So you're gonna have to give that credit for it. And the reason that it creates it's the most interesting card is because it's has no initiative and it sticks on the board. It sticks on the board because you don't want to kill it. It has that same effect as, let's say, a mechanical whelp. Except this, I think, is the correct balance, where the second body is worth the correct amount more than the first body and has a different attack, so it has a totally different function. That you're always making a choice of, do I throw this body in to get the second body? Or when you're facing it, do I kill this to get the second body out and take care of it? Or can I take care of the second body on a different turn and not get screwed by it? Right now, with all the pings like between rogue and mage, it's actually less of a consideration. But if you're ever in a non-rogue slash mage opponent game, where the person who plays the Temple Berserker plays it against a non-rogue slash mage, it's a ridiculous thought process to have to go through on either turn 2 or any turn that this comes out. Like, the difference between 1 attack and 3 attack is huge. Not just for trading on the board, but for face damage. Like, if you want face damage, do you take the 1 face damage that this Temple Berserker can get, or do you use it in a trade because it means next turn they have to deal with your 3-1, or you get 3 damage rather than just a total of 2 damage from your first hit and your second hit? Like, legitimately, for this card, if you want to be aggressive towards your opponent face, you should try to trade it off if your opponent can't ping. That's a weird consideration you almost never have. On the other hand, you may not want to trade it away if you can hold the board and you can just keep Temple Berserker. You could go for the home run kind of swing, right, where you can actually kill 1-1 with it, and then you have a 3-1 body and another 3-1 body. You can just do so many things with this card. And it's a 2-drop on curve. Like,
it is, yeah.
It's just so many things, and people don't use it to its max. Like, I see people kill it all the time when they shouldn't. I see people trade with it when they shouldn't. I see people not trade with it when they should, like just to throw it in to get the 3-1 body out. Like, people don't like doing that, but sometimes that's the right choice. And I think people are going to be learning different ways to play with this card for the entire rest of the meta. Not just this meta, but like the entire saviors, like the next 3 months, that this card will continue to be developed in terms of how players use it, because it's just such a complicated card.
It really is. And ADWCTA, you bring up the analogy to Bone Wraith, and the reason that these two cards, I think you have to tie them together is what it does is it forces you a lot of times as the user, because if you're on the other side, it's actually simpler. It's simpler for the opponent than for you yourself, because when you drop this stuff, it is you're not getting as much attack points initially as you would like to get. 2 attack for 4 mana, 1 attack for 2 mana. That's not what you want. But so whenever you drop it, you need to have a purpose for it. That's number one. And number two, when you have this stuff on the board and you are the controller of either the Temple Berserker or the Bone Wraith, you need to be comfortable with board tension. You need to be comfortable with not resolving, with like not immediately the next turn if you have your Bone Wraith, like, okay, how can I bump it into the highest attack thing to try to get rid of it? And with the Temple Berserker, oh man, I need that 3/1 body immediately. I need to resolve. This is going to be, if you're starting the game or if you are trying to get out of that, 3-4 win category, this is going to be one of those feelings. You feel unsafe, right?
Mm-hmm.
You feel unsafe and you want to resolve stuff as fast as possible. But these cards are really good cards for helping you develop the skill of, okay, like I need to properly risk assess and I need to actually just hold the line, like be patient. And yes, there are punishes here or there, but it's going to be overall much more worth it for me to kind of just stall a little bit and for me to be able to use this later on as a ping with the extra body later. So in that way, Temple Berserker and Bone Wraith are extraordinarily similar, even though you might not see them as very similar.
Yeah. You can also think of Temple Berserker this way, because I know a lot of people are still not sold on Temple Berserker, but you know how everyone likes Candle Taker, and that's no controversy there? Temple Berserker is a Candle Taker with 2 less attack for 1 less mana. And it has an extra enrage on it. Like, is it as good as a Candle Taker? No, it's not. Candle Taker is better. You'd rather have 2 attack on a body like this than not for an extra mana.
Yeah.
But it's in the same kind of like vein. And it causes more tension than Candle Taker because Candle Taker effectively just has extra health. This one actually shakes it up by backloading the attack. Anyway, super well designed card. I really like it whenever I play with it or play against it. I mean, I'm frustrated in that my opponent gets to stay on the board, but that's good, right? Like in an attacker chooses game, these are the cards you need in limited formats like the arena in order to get a dynamic board. So for the people at Blizzard, I know we already gave a lot of props for however Bone Wraith was designed. Temple Berserker, like just as good of a design for the arena. And these are all things that I wonder, like, do these get constructed play? Or are they kind of just there so Feral Cat can have more random options? But in the arena, these are gold, like design wise. Like this is the stuff that Blizzard. Some sets Blizzard won't push stuff like this out for the arena, or I don't even know if this is made for the arena. But sometimes it's just pretty normal stuff, right? Like you get stats plus things that deal damage, stats with some stats trade off for taunts, like all that normal stuff. Or like random stuff that are like, oh, this is a cool card. But Temple Berserker and like Bone Wraith are like fundamental type designs that explore space and do exactly what you want to do on the board to create tension, which always makes things more interesting, more skillful, and solves for a problem that attacker chooses games have, which is that you can snowball, right? Like, how do you deal with this? You're making a game. You have attacker chooses, so snowball is easier. Literally the person who has more stuff on the board has more power. So with more power, you can keep removing opponents more stuff. So what do? Oh, you build board clears. Easy, right? Well, now you have rock paper scissors. Now it's just, can you board clear my stuff? Okay, it's a little more interesting than just pure snowball. But you don't really want to play a rock paper scissors game either. It's cards like these that allow players to be behind and come back. Stealth is another good mechanic. There's a few of these overstated cards with a downside that triggers on that only triggers if it gets to like attack or if it gets to live a turn, right? So like your ogres, your the champion from Shadows, that whenever it attacks it gives your opponent a coin. Like those are the really good limited designs for attackers.
Soldier of Fortune.
Soldier of Fortune, there we go. Champion. Soldier of Fortune, yeah. Like those are the really good designs that really shape a lot of the arena and in a good way. So
cool. Sounds good. No, I think that was a great discussion of Temple Berserker. I'm glad we talked about it because it is a card that I think a lot of people look at it, sort of dismiss the complexity of it, even though it's a very, very complex card.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, cool. Do we have a question from the GOAT?
Yes, we do. Question from the GOAT. Very simple. What is going on in your life, man? What's
Oh,
happening?
what's going on in my life? Okay, so if you haven't checked out the Twitter, I tweeted this last night. I am now engaged to brand new. I popped the question in the morning. I can't even show you guys pictures. I really want to show you guys a picture, but I need brand new to Photoshop it first because I wrote like, it's me. How do you think I'm gonna propose? It's not gonna be terribly fancy. But I did write out like I hand wrote a 3-page letter, like kind of like a proposal letter, love letter, I don't know. And it has a lot of personal stuff in it. And I hand wrote it on like some pretty expensive like parchment, with a fancy pen and everything.
Parchment. Wow, what century are we in?
Okay.
Okay.
The amount of money good paper costs, it's kind of
Oh yeah.
astounding.
No. I did a little bit of research into this. Just it was like a 3 a.m. sort of like YouTube hole.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, yeah, it's actually ridiculous.
Yeah. So, brand new's a graphics designer, really into like calligraphy and like paper and things like that. So I did my version of it, which is crap. But I hope the meaning behind it makes up for its lack of actual quality. Anyway, and I proposed in the morning, woke her up, put it there with a stuffed animal that she likes that I got for her earlier, like years ago. Yeah. So I proposed. She said yes, and then we went to climb a mountain because she had told me before that she wanted to be proposed to on a mountain. And I'm like, well, it's gonna be real suspicious if I just drove you to a mountain.
I mean,
Given
look, you
that
go
we
hiking
never-
all the time, right? You love nature and working out, and wow.
In Twitch chat right now, Smellyhead says, from the sound of it, Adwicta wrote a thesis on why it was statistically advantageous for brand new to say yes. That is not far from the truth. I would say that's pretty close to my thesis of this letter that I wrote. But yeah, so I didn't have a good way to get her to a mountain. The closest mountain to us was like more than half an hour away. So I proposed, she said yes, then we drove to the mountain, and we climbed the mountain, which was more than 2 miles up and down. So that's a total of more than 4 miles of walking. I don't know what the elevation is, but from the base of the mountain to the top, it was 250 feet, and we're both really out of shape. So that was a journey. You saw the picture that we took at the top. It's great because in every picture we took at the top, she's like sunburned and like has like, you know, like she's worn out, right? It was a trek up there, and we're both not ready for it. And I was dying just as much as her on the way up, but like I never show it physically. So when it's time to take a picture, I look like how I normally look. It's great.
Were you shirtless, by the way?
Oh yeah, I was. I had a rule, which is the first person that I see without a shirt, I'm taking my shirt off. And I saw a person without a shirt pretty quickly, and you know, as I got higher up the mountain, more and more people had their shirts off, and I was like, that's right. That's what you do when you try to climb a mountain in 90-degree weather, right? Like it was very shady.
Why do you need confirmation for that? You are allowed to be shirtless.
Well, I don't know. It's North Carolina. Maybe they're like really like, I don't know, diligent about this stuff in state parks.
It's the genteel nature of
Yeah,
North
I don't
Carolina.
know. All right, people are conservative here. Maybe it extends to like male nipples. I don't know. But yeah, people were really friendly. Because I mean, people are friendly in the South generally, right? But even when you're like sweating and dying, I have no shirt on. They're still really friendly to strangers. But yeah, it was nice. We got up. We saw like hawks and stuff. You know, birds flying around. The mountains are gorgeous. And then we came back, watched the movie, went to a fancy dinner. You know, showered, changed, went to a fancy dinner. And then before that though, we called our parents, and even before that, I messaged my mom. So this is the part. If you saw the tweet, you know what my mom said back. We basically tweeted her a picture of the ring, and you know that we're engaged. And her responses, her first 3 responses were: 1, congratulations. 2, why is Highway naked? Why is Adwicta naked? Because you know, this is the same question you had apparently. And 3, you have both gained weight. Isn't it true? Like accusatory, well, yeah. Like fully accusatory, like a statement. You have both gained weight, and then daring me to contradict her. Isn't it true?
Yeah, no, that is wow. Ooh, man. That already like puts the spotlight on you immediately. Also, I like how right after the proposal, she recognizes that you're one unit now. It's like she
Yeah.
accepts it, but now the criticism is on you guys in unity. You know?
Exactly. She's like, all right, now
Yeah.
they're one. So now I can criticize both of them on their weight and not just highway.
Well, yeah, no,
Uh,
you can't. You can't really well, okay. I mean, you talk behind her back when it's your girlfriend,
mhm.
but now that it's your fiance, you know, the Asian mom shaming it can come out because she's family now. She's family,
Mhm.
so the shaming begins. Oh,
Immediately, literally like the third line that she said to us afterwards. So after we called her, and this is the part I didn't even put in the tweet because I'm like, no one's really gonna believe me. But I'll tell you guys now. So we had a 1 hour conversation afterwards. It's just like, hey, yeah, congratulations, all this stuff. And my mom had to like, tell some words to my future wife and her future daughter-in-law. That conversation, we literally tracked this because we were expecting something like this. It was 1 hour long, and around 37 minutes of it, because we were tracking, around 37 minutes of the conversation with pretty much no prompting on our part, we wanted to get off the topic, was about some form of exercising or losing weight on either her or me or both of us. And it was separate. There were like 3 separate topics. One is like, how can you lose weight, ADWCTA? One is, how can brand new lose weight? And the third is, how can you both lose weight together?
okay. So, question: what is like she keeps talking about this. Number one, what is her goal for you guys? Like, does she want you to lose like a couple pounds? Does she want you to be like Christian Bale from the Machinist?
No,
Does
I
she
don't think she
like
cares
what's
at all about how much muscle I have. It's just about like to get skinnier. And
right, right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not talking. If you haven't seen Christian Bale in The Machinist, he
oh, is
is
he?
I think he weighed like 90 something pounds
Oh,
or
okay.
something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was unhealthily um skinny. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what her goal is. She's also not very specific about her goals. It's more like, look, oh, she literally said to me, look, you're never going to be a skinny man. So just don't worry about it. Just lose everything that you can. You're never going to go in that direction. Like, I get it, you shouldn't be anorexic, but that's just not in the cards, on the table. That's never going to happen. So if you can lose 5 pounds, that's good. If you can lose 10 pounds, that's better. If you can lose 30 pounds, that's even better. There's just no limit to how much losing weight is beneficial for you because you will never go over that hump, right, where it becomes worse for you. I don't disagree. I don't really disagree with that like assessment, but there's no target. But
Yeah, the method could be and the administration of that advice can be improved.
but yeah, I'm glad I now have a partner in crime that gets equally criticized as me because you're right. She's been mostly immune from the fat criticism, and she's not fat, obviously. If you look at her picture, she's like actually underweight compared to like average. Oh, and on top of that, I have not gained weight for like over a year. Like last year around like this time, I think it was around like July or June or May or something, I put on like pretty quickly like 15, 20 pounds. And I have not gained weight since then. But
Well,
every
you got
single
sick for like 4 months straight, so that helped, right?
I
Yeah.
bounced back though. Like once I recovered, I gained the weight back. But yeah. Oh, on top of that, on top of all this, and this is how I know that my parents, despite the fact that they're divorced, they secretly belong together still. My childhood fantasies. I texted my dad the same thing. Right, it was like, hey, we're engaged now. And I could show you guys this on WeChat. He has not talked. He does not talk to my mother. All right, they're divorced. They're in different countries. He's in Inner Mongolia right now. Um, and I sent him the same picture that we sent my mom, which is the same picture you guys see on Twitter. And his response is his first 3 lines. I kid you not. 1, congratulations. 2, why are you naked? 3, you're too fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you guys don't know WeChat's like this like Chinese version of like a like a chatting like thing. And everyone in China has it. And there's a translate feature that's really, really, really easy to use. You just like tap their text and then hit the word translate and it translates it. I can read Chinese, but I always translate it because it's just easier. So my dad's writes exactly. Other people have a body full of muscle. You have a body full of fat. I click WeChat translate, and WeChat translate translates it to "you're fat." Period.
Yo, WeChat is trying to like. It tried to soften it a little bit for you. WeChat was like, "Oh, yikes! This is pretty harsh. Let's try to soften." Yo, WeChat's a bro. It tried,
It
man.
was like 15 like Chinese characters. Translates "you're fat." I'm like, okay, I got to go back and actually read what he wrote now. Clearly, there was more that was lost in this translation.
Oh, WeChat. Yo, the software, like the guy who created the WeChat software. Yo, you tried, man. You tried to spare some feelings. Good job, good job.
Yeah. So that's my engagement. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that kind of about covers it. It was a really good day. We're we're very happy. And in case you want to know our backstory, we did not meet on Twitch, or like this is not a lot of people know Brand New as a mod from the early days, but like we were dating, we met, and then she decided to become a mod after we were dating for a while. So it was not like I went and got engaged to a mod. Um,
In true ADWCTA fashion, it's like, putting a ring on a mod to ensure that free labor,
yeah,
right? And also, Brand New helps a lot with many
so
aspects of
much.
the
Yeah,
Grin and Go.
yeah.
Yeah.
She does
So
a lot of. I mean, she does all the recent emotes now. I know we haven't had one in a little bit, but she has Got Cozy coming up for you guys soon.
yeah,
And the Lightforge, every time the new expansion comes out, the new art for the Lightforge that tracks the new expansion cards, that's all her.
wow, the goat store,
The Goat
that's
Store
her
she
as well.
runs, with Cass. Yeah, free
Yeah.
labor. That's what it's about.
Now it will continue to be free labor. Good job. Excellent
It's
job.
really expensive labor if the ring is what it costs to obtain this labor.
Oh
This
yeah,
is this
actually.
is
Oh
negative
man.
average value or whatever.
Oh, we better run this channel for a long time for that to be
Yep.
worth it.
All right. Sulin says ETA for Dadwicta. Depends on a lot of things. I'm not gonna say no definite deadline. We'll see. We'll see whether the world is ready for that.
All right, thanks for tuning into the Lightforge. Great.
Yeah, this was brought to you by our patrons. Patreon.com/grinandgoat. Grinandgoat, like patrons, you guys help us keep the light on. Thank you guys so much. It's great to have all the support and all the new patrons who signed up in the last month as well.
All right, thank you guys. I think that's it for this week.
That's it for this week.
Good update. All right.
Great. We're gonna play Paladin in today's coup. Check it out. And until next week, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. Bye.